She looked me in the eye, smirked, and said, "You'll never survive without me." I stood there, silent. But inside, something snapped. I wasn't broken. I was done. You ever had someone tear you down so often that silence becomes your shield? Well, this is the story of how I turned that silence into a storm and made the one who crushed me beg for a second chance. If you've ever been underestimated or walked over, comment below. I want to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button to support more stories like this. It started, like most things do, with something small. A coffee cup slammed on the table. A sigh. A side glance. My mom didn't have to scream at me to make me feel worthless. She was a master of slow erosion. Growing up with her was like living under a microscope. Everything I did was inspected, criticized, dismissed. My name is Marin, and by the time I was 12, I knew that love in our house came with conditions: obedience, silence, perfection. But I was never perfect enough. I got good grades. She said I was trying too hard. I kept to myself. She called me cold. I spoke up. Suddenly I was disrespectful. She used to tell me, "I carried you for 9 months. I own you." And I believed her. For too long. By the time I hit 19, I'd learned to shrink myself into the background just to keep the peace. But it never worked. Peace wasn't what she wanted, control was. When my father left, she made it my fault. When bills piled up, she called me ungrateful for not dropping out of college to help. And when I finally started to push back, that's when things got ugly. I remember the night clearly. The rain was tapping against the windows like it was warning me. I came home 10 minutes late from class. 10 minutes. And she was already waiting, arms crossed, lips tight. "You think you're better than this family now, just because you're taking some little college class?" "No," I said, trying to pass her in the hallway, but she stepped in front of me. She poked my forehead with her finger. "You are nothing without me. Don't ever forget that." That's when I stopped speaking. Not out of fear, out of clarity. There was nothing left to say to someone who enjoyed the sound of their own cruelty. I started planning that night, quietly, carefully, because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's surgical. In the days that followed, silence became my protection. I didn't argue anymore. I didn't defend myself when she slammed doors or muttered insults under her breath. I simply observed. And in that quiet, I began to see her clearly, not as my mother, but as a woman obsessed with control, addicted to dominance, someone who needed others to be small so she could feel big. The house felt colder, not from temperature, but from tension. Every room held echoes of things I could never say out loud. I started waking up earlier than her, showering, eating, leaving before she could corner me with accusations or demands. I stayed longer at campus, hiding in the library, pretending to study while I researched student housing, legal aid, part-time jobs, anything. I didn't have money. I didn't even have a plan. But I had a goal: freedom. Every time she snarled that I'd be nothing without her, it fueled me. Her words stopped hurting, they started guiding me, like signposts saying, "You're getting close, keep going." One night, she barged into my room without knocking. She saw me filling out a job application and laughed. You're not built for the real world. No one's going to take care of you out there." I didn't respond. I just turned the screen away from her and kept typing. That made her furious. She ripped the paper from my desk and shredded it with her bare hands. "You ungrateful brat. Everything you have is because of me." I looked her dead in the eye and whispered, "Exactly." She froze. For a split second, she looked confused, like she wasn't sure if she'd heard me right. But I didn't repeat it. I just got up, walked past her, and left the house. I sat outside in the cold for hours that night. No jacket, no plan, just breath and clarity. I wasn't scared anymore. I was done waiting for her love to be unconditional. The price of it was too high. I'd have to leave. Not someday. Soon. Freedom doesn't arrive like thunder. It sneaks in like a whisper. After aquella noite congelante no quintal, something shifted inside me. Not defiance, not bravery. Something older, quieter. A decision. I realized I couldn't ask for permission to leave. Not from her. Not from anyone. So I stopped announcing things. I started gathering small pieces of my life and hiding them in a backpack, clothes I wouldn't miss, my old phone charger, a notebook with all my login info. It felt like packing for war one zipper at a time. At school, I walked different halls, Saturday in the back of class, observed people, listened. I needed allies, but not the kind who posted inspirational quotes. I needed someone who understood real chaos, someone who wouldn't flinch if I said, "I think I'm planning an escape." That's when I noticed Eli. He was always quiet, sharp, wore his hoodie up even in summer. People said his parents kicked him out, and he'd been couch surfing ever since. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was with precision. One afternoon in the library, I sat beside him. I didn't ask for help. I just whispered, "Do you know anyone who rents a room without asking too many questions?" He didn't look at me, didn't laugh. He just wrote a number on a piece of paper and slid it across the table. "Don't call after 9 p.m. She works nights," he said. That was it. No pity, no curiosity, just silent understanding. Back home, my mother had started locking the fridge, said I was costing her too much. She unplugged the Wi-Fi some night. She even began moving my laundry to the garage, saying my clothes smelled like arrogance. I didn't argue. I just started keeping my backpack close, like a parachute I might need to pull at any moment. And then one night, I overheard her on the phone, talking to my aunt. "He thinks he's so smart now, but when the world eats him alive, I won't lift a finger. Let him learn." I sat in the hallway, listening, my heart a tight fist. She didn't know I was there, but even if she did, I'm not sure it would have stopped her. That night, I made the call. The woman on the other end had a smoker's voice and a simple rule. "Rent's cheap. You don't bring drama. We're good." I said, "I'll be there Friday." She said, "Doors never locked. Back room's yours." I hung up and exhaled like I hadn't in years. It was happening. Not a dream. Not a threat. A plan. I didn't pack like someone running away. I packed like someone moving forward. Friday came. The sky was gray. Not stormy. Just hollow. Like the world had gone quiet to watch what I was about to do. I left before dawn, when the house was still asleep, or at least pretending to be. My mom had been slamming doors louder that week, muttering things about useless mouths and wasted space. She didn't know it, but every cruel comment was a countdown. I didn't take much, just the backpack, a hoodie, my notebook, a USB with all my files, school essays, old drawings, scanned IDs, my whole life, compressed into pockets. I left my room exactly as it was, not out of respect, but because I wanted her to stare into that silence every day after. No note, no final words. She didn't deserve closure. I slipped out the back door. The air was cold, biting through my sleeves. I walked quickly, but not like I was escaping, like I was heading somewhere real. I met Eli 2 blocks down. He handed me a breakfast burrito, still warm. "You'll be hungry later," he said. I didn't ask why he helped. I didn't thank him with words. I just nodded. The address he gave led to a small blue house behind a broken fence, paint peeling, but the porch light was on, and it felt safe. I knocked once. The door creaked open. "Back room, left of the kitchen," a voice called. I walked in, heart thudding. The floor creaked beneath my feet. A cat stared at me from the hallway, unimpressed. I stepped into the room, small, dusty, but mine. No screaming, no slammed doors, no locks on the fridge. I sat on the bed. Springs groaned. The silence wrapped around me, not heavy like before, but clean. And then it hit me. I wasn't scared. I wasn't sad. I was free. Not free someday. Now. It wasn't a movie moment. No swelling music. Just me, breathing steady, with no one watching, no one judging. I lay back and stared at the ceiling. I could sleep as long as I wanted, wake up whenever I chose. There was no war waiting in the next room, just a door, and it was open. The first night felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, not falling, not flying, just suspended. I woke up with sunlight on my face, no alarm, no yelling, no dread curling in my stomach, just quiet. And for a moment, I didn't know what to do with it. The room smelled like old books and lemon cleaner. Someone had placed a folded towel on the chair near the window. A note sat on top. Bathrooms down the hall. No pressure. Take your time. It was signed with a smiley face, and no name. Kindness felt suspicious. I made coffee too strong, burnt toast, and ate in silence. Eli texted mid-morning. Let me know when you're ready to talk options. No rush. I stared at the message. Options. Not orders. Not ultimatums. That day passed slow. I walked around the block twice, watched dust swirl in the window light, wrote 3 words in my notebook, and erased all of them. I thought freedom would feel louder. Instead, it was soft, but not empty. Until my phone buzzed. 1 missed call. Mom. Then, another. And another. No voicemail. Just the name lighting up over and over, like a warning flare. By sunset, there were 10 calls. No texts, no apologies. Just that name blazing across my screen, like it still owned me. I turned the phone off. But even with the screen black, I felt her. In the pit of my stomach, in the echo of her voice, when I looked at my reflection. You'll come crawling back. I almost believed her. Almost. But then I looked at the window, cracked open, breeze brushing the curtains, something she would never allow. I sat on the floor, phone silent beside me, and listened to the wind instead. She would try to find me. Of course she would. But I wasn't that scared little girl anymore. And this time, I wasn't planning to run. I was planning to build. I spent the next week trying to remember who I was when no one was watching. Eli had a small desk in the corner of the living room, and during the day, I sat there browsing job boards. Nothing fancy, just part-time work, maybe something remote. I didn't want to depend on anyone, not again. Every click felt like resistance, like I was pushing back against years of being told I wasn't capable. My fingers hovered over applications like they might burn me. But I sent one, then another. I made my own meals, even if it was just eggs and rice. I folded laundry wrong. I watered Eli's plants too much. I was learning, slowly, how to be a person outside of survival. Every evening, Eli would check in. Never pushy, never nosy. You look more like you today, he said once, handing me tea. I didn't know how to answer that. Then the package arrived. No return address, just my name, written in the handwriting I knew too well. The scent hit me before I opened it. Her perfume musky, expensive, suffocating. Inside, a photo album. Our old one. Pages full of childhood birthdays, vacations we never smiled through, blurry pictures she loved because she looked perfect in them. Taped to the last page was a note. Family doesn't abandon each other. You'll come to your senses. My hands trembled. I sat down, staring at that fake nostalgia. It wasn't a peace offering. It was bait. A reminder. A trigger. She wasn't done. Eli came home and found me still on the couch, eyes glassy. He didn't ask. Just picked up the album, flipped through, and said, "This doesn't have to be your story anymore." I nodded, but my chest felt tight. That old panic, the kind that grabs your ribs and squeezes until your breath shortens. She wasn't calling anymore. Now she was watching. And when silence turns into strategy, that's when you know the real storm is coming. But I wasn't going to break. I wasn't the daughter she could manipulate anymore. I was becoming someone else entirely. It started with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, Marin. This is Claire from HR at Halston Academy. I just wanted to clarify the reference call we received today. Your mother spoke very passionately. Could you call us back when you get the chance?" I froze. I hadn't even mentioned that interview to anyone. It was just a school admin job I applied for quietly, something to help me get on my feet. But she knew. She always knew. I called Claire back, heart hammering against my ribs. Tried to stay calm, professional. She hesitated before explaining. "Your mother implied there were past behavioral concerns, emotional instability, some kind of breakdown?" The words wrapped around my neck like a noose. "She said she was concerned for any children under your care." I thanked her for the call, voice trembling, and hung up. I couldn't breathe. She was poisoning the air. I was trying to breathe. For the first time. Eli came home and found me on the floor, my laptop tossed across the couch, hands in my hair. I told him everything. He didn't interrupt, just listened, and then he said, "If she's turning this into a war, then it's time we start treating it like one." I didn't answer, but something inside me shifted. That night, I dug out my old phone, the one I'd hidden in a shoebox under my bed before I left her house. It still had hundreds of messages from her, voicemails, screenshots of her threats, recordings of her yelling, twisting, gaslighting me into doubting my own memory. It was all there. A digital graveyard of everything she wanted to bury. Eli looked over my shoulder as I organized it all. "We document, we protect you, and if she ever tries this again, we expose her." For the first time in years, I didn't feel like prey. I felt like someone preparing for battle not out of revenge, but for survival. And when someone's weapon is your silence, breaking it is the first act of power. She didn't know yet, but I was no longer afraid of the light. My mother didn't call for 3 days, not a word. And in her world, that kind of silence wasn't peace, it was pressure, a calculated void meant to force me to come crawling back. But I didn't. I didn't send a text. I didn't check her social media. I didn't even speak her name. And that's what made her nervous. Because for people like her, attention even in anger is power. And I was finally starving her of it. Instead, I focused on something else, the truth. I contacted Halston Academy again this time, with confidence. I forwarded them the screenshots, voice recordings, and references from people who actually knew me. I explained the context clearly, without bitterness, just facts. Claire called me back that same afternoon. "We believe you, Marin, and we'd still love to offer you the position." I cried when I hung up, not because I got the job, but because I realized I didn't need her approval to move forward. I was finally being seen without her shadow. Eli and I celebrated with cheap takeout and a toast to finally burning the old script. But it didn't end there. That week, I published an anonymous blog post not naming her, not outing myself, but telling my story. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the control disguised as care. The quiet violence of being told who you are, over and over, until you forget you ever had a voice. It spread faster than I expected. Dozens of comments. Then hundreds. "This sounds like my mother. I thought I was alone. You just described my entire childhood." And somewhere out there, I know she saw it. Not because she said anything, but because she suddenly started calling mutual relatives, spinning new versions of old stories, trying to regain control of a narrative that wasn't hers anymore. The truth has a strange power. It doesn't scream. It just stands there undeniable. And when you finally stop running from it, it becomes your shield. For the first time, I didn't just survive her. I outgrew her. She asked to meet for coffee. No apology, no explanation, just a message that read, "Let's talk." Old me would have overthought it, reread the text 20 times, asked Eli what he thought, arrived early, desperate to decode her mood before she spoke. But not this time. I walked in exactly on time, Saturday down, and waited. She looked the same, polished, cold, composed, but something had shifted. Her eyes didn't scan the room like usual. They were locked on me, studying. "Marin," she said, forcing a smile. "You look different." "I am," I replied, flat, not defensive, just true. She launched into small talk, about the weather, my siblings, a neighbor who got divorced. None of it real. None of it touched the fire she'd set in me. Over the years, I didn't play along. I let the silence stretch. Finally, she folded her hands on the table and went for her usual weapon. "You've always been sensitive. You misinterpret things. I never meant to hurt you." And there it was, the old game, rewriting the past, just vague enough to avoid accountability, but sharp enough to make me question my memory. But I didn't take the bait. "I know what happened," I said calmly, "and I'm not here to debate it with you." She blinked. "You're my daughter," she said, suddenly emotional. "I just wanted the best for you." "No," I said. "You wanted control. That's not the same thing." She leaned back, mouth twitching, maybe to argue, maybe to cry. But I didn't wait. "I'm not here to make peace," I continued. "I'm here to let you know that I don't need anything from you. Not love, not validation, not understanding. I've made peace with myself." It hit her. Not because I yelled, but because I didn't. Because the girl she used to break down with a look wasn't breaking anymore. I stood up. "If you ever want to know me, the real me, you'll have to come from a place of truth. Until then, I'm done." And I walked away. No parting hug, no backwards glance. For once, I didn't feel guilt twisting in my chest. I felt light, powerful, free. The strangest thing about healing is that it's quiet. No fireworks, no applause, just stillness, the kind I used to crave without knowing its name. In the days after that final meeting with my mother, I kept waiting for the guilt to come creeping back in, the second guessing, the ache. But it didn't. I didn't miss her. I didn't miss pretending. I just felt space, wide, open space to be myself. Eli noticed it first. "You laugh different now," he said one morning. "Like your chest isn't clenched anymore." He was right. For the first time, my voice didn't carry the weight of being someone else's disappointment. I poured my energy into building a new life, one that wasn't shaped by her voice in my head. I started painting again. I said yes to things I used to avoid. I even made peace with silence, not the anxious kind, but the peaceful kind, the kind that comes when the war inside finally stops. And one afternoon, standing in my apartment, I realized something. I no longer needed to prove anything. Not to her, not to the world, not even to myself. The scars didn't disappear, but they softened, became part of the map that led me here. I was never a failure, never a burden. I just believed the wrong narrator for too long. Now, I write my own story. And if you've ever been made to feel small, broken, or unworthy by someone who should have loved you, you're not alone. But you are allowed to leave. You are allowed to outgrow them. You are allowed to heal. Some doors don't slam shut. They just stop mattering. And when you stop trying to be let in, you realize you were never locked out. You were just meant to build your own house. And now, I want to hear from you. What's the most satisfying moment of justice or freedom you've ever experienced? Drop it in the comments. Your story might help someone else find their voice. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who's waiting to feel seen.